Yo, 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 welcome back to the Out of the Box Show. I'm John Wallace alongside my co-host James Luffy, and we are happy to be back. We took last week off, right? We got to gear up for baseball season. We could not be more hyped. We have a very special guest on today's episode, former LSU professional hitter, class act, great guy, Baton Rouge legend,
Yes,
Baton
sir.
Rouge legend, Chris Reid. We have a great interview with him. Very excited to talk to him. We're going to talk about a few different things. Maybe some LSU football recruiting, his take on this year's LSU baseball team as the Tigers are number one. And maybe we might even get to a couple other things. But before we do all that, I want to give a huge shout out to the Boot Crew Media Network. Content all the time. Make sure to check them out at Boot Crew Media on social media and at bootcrewmedia.com. Entertainment, 4 hours. I promise you, you will be entertained. Also, want to give a huge shout out to Blaine Loop with Keller Williams Realty. I was at Blaine's wedding this past weekend.
There you go.
Now we no longer have to congratulate him for getting engaged. He has officially done the deal. Fantastic wedding, great time, better people. Shout out to Blaine Loop with Keller Williams Realty. Make sure to call or text him at 504-858-0031 for all your housing needs. All righty, we want to bring on a very special guest to the Out the Box podcast, recurring guest, good friend of the show. Chris, I've known you a long time. And I guess I want to go ahead and start off this time around. Luffy follows recruiting very, very intently, and LSU football recruiting especially. And I, to be honest with you, don't really know, but he was saying that you got into a little bit of trouble with LSU football recruiting a while back.
We wanted to know about your time as a beat writer, your brief temporary stint, breaking news, breaking the Desmond Ricks news. What happened? Kind of, your side of the story, because I know a lot of people were mad at you. And when we saw it, Rory actually sent it to me, and I was like, people are going to be so mad if he's wrong. And people were mad.
Oh yeah, no, they were. I was actually at work, and we had been, we have a group of guys that follow football recruiting, I guess, fairly closely. And then obviously, even if you don't, just with it being signing day, it's a big,
everybody's online paying attention on signing day. It doesn't matter how much you really follow it throughout the year.
Exactly. And we were like joking around. We were like saying like, what is your biggest, possible landing or event happening today? So we were shooting this, stuff up again, and and then ended up my co-host from our old podcast, he ended up writing up a thing and basically just copied and pasted it. So obviously when we were doing the podcast, we had Twitter page and Instagram page, just like y'all do. And he had access to it and ended up going through it and posted it on my account. And so I'm at work, and then my phone's like blowing up, and I'm trying to like leave it alone, not doing anything. I ended up checking an hour later, and I got direct messages from all sorts of people. Do you really know anybody? And I'm like, what are they talking about? And then I check, and it's just a slew of comments and retweets and likes and all this stuff. And I was just like, oh my God, he did. Yeah. I was like, so we thought it was funny. And then I was going to delete it. But it caught wind, and we decided to let it go. And so I was just, it was a whole ordeal. And really, I commented on it, and I had to basically just say, like, I've never once ever said on Twitter or any social media that I know anything about football recruiting. I follow it. I don't know anything about it. I'm not anybody to do breaking across. I never tweet in that manner, nor do I ever formulate sentences like were formulated in that. It's actually funny. He tagged the wrong guy in it as well. It wasn't for Desmond Ricks. It was for some guy out of Mississippi. And
Isaac Smith. Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
that's who
so it was just a whole ordeal that I had to kind of I gained like 6 followers from it. That's what we were laughing about. We were like, okay, got all these interactions and had 6 followers gained. But yeah, it was a whole ordeal. Definitely got the recruiting followers riled up, and
for sure.
I ended up deleting it, and then I just didn't want to even comment to any of the other people because they had some people that were getting really upset,
really mad,
really mad about it, and
yeah.
I had people texting me, like friends. I had friends, like my friends' dads texting me because they follow it, and they're like, "Do you really know anything?" And I'm like, I had a kid show up to a lesson that night, and the dad's like, Did you actually know anything about that football player coming to LSU? And I was like, no. He goes, bro, you got a lot of slack for that. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, so it was a funny joke, but it obviously wasn't funny at the time for a lot of people. So I apologize for it, but unfortunately it did happen.
You should just try to do the same thing again, like call your shot again next signing day, and and just see if people like run with it.
Any chance you get, whether it's like you could do it for like women's basketball or LSU beach volleyball, like every signing day, I feel like you should do that. And I guarantee there will still be people. You could do it 30 times, and there will still be people jumping your ass for it.
No doubt.
People follow that so seriously.
Yeah, and we were in our group, we were laughing about how crazy it was. Like it just fit the narrative that we got people that have no idea what they're talking about, posting stuff on social media, trying to influence people's way of thinking or ideas, and they have no clue, and people just run with it. It's just like they just take it by storm and just run with it, and repost it, and it's like wildfire.
That's
it's like a social experiment.
Well, that's typically like what we do. We have a lot of serious tweets that we send out and out the box too, kind of similar.
Oh, I know. I see.
But okay, so I'm glad we got that out of the way. Before we do get to baseball, this is more of a serious question. So you being a Baton Rouge lifer like myself, You grew up in Baton Rouge, always dreamed of playing for LSU. What are your thoughts on? I know Walker Howard came from a little bit down the road, but kind of a similar situation. Grew up playing for LSU or wanted to play for LSU. His family played for LSU, and then has decided to enter the transfer portal. And then I think for LSU fans, it was more of a blow that he's now going to Ole Miss. But what are your thoughts on that? Being a Baton Rouge guy and growing up wanting to play for LSU?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you live in this state and especially in the southern half of the state, I'm not hating on the northern half, but I just think it's just a different mentality and mindset, just strictly because we're closer and LSU is more accessible to our athletes, but. He obviously, I hate to see him go. I think he could have been really good at LSU. Obviously it was just a numbers thing. And with the transfer portal as the way it is now, I mean, I kind of assumed it was going to happen. I'm sure like he fulfilled his dream. He got to run, through the crossbars and got all that. And I'm all for any Louisiana guy getting the opportunity to do that. It was an unfortunate situation where we had a guy that just took us to the SEC championship game that I went to, and that was a blast. And we won the West, beat Alabama in our first year, or hit their first year, and he's coming back. And Nussmeier, I think over the last couple of weeks really separated himself. I think that was the difference. I don't think there was obviously as much pressure on who was going to be QB2 going forward. And then the way he played in the SEC championship and in the bowl game, I think it just, as long as we could have held him on and let Walker go, I think he kind of had to do it. In terms of what our QB recruiting is going to look like, you don't want to just have a huge backlog for the next 10 years and lose out on some really good prospects. So, I'm glad he got a shot. I hope he enjoyed his time. I'm sure I know a lot of LSU athletes do enjoy their time. Doesn't matter if you're playing or starting or not. but I hope he enjoyed it. I enjoyed, obviously seeing him there and knowing that he had a fun time and enjoyed his time. So that's just my outlook on it. I wish him nothing but the best. And Ole Miss, I don't dislike Ole Miss. So at least he went to not Alabama or anywhere else.
Chris, this is a kind of going off what John said, being from here. Do you think you would have been more like enticed to the way the portal is now to enter the portal at any time, like throughout your playing career?
I mean, I had the opportunity to. I had those discussions. I actually haven't really – I don't think I've ever told anybody. I legit think y'all are the first two people that know this. But outside between me and my dad is –
we can break some news. Finally, like we were just talking about.
Yeah, so one day, I want to say my sophomore year, my dad called me. I don't know what part of the year. I know he's respectable, so it was probably towards the latter part. But he had basically just contacted me. He's like, hey, what are you thinking? And I'm like, well, it obviously sucks that I lost my spot. The position I was in with, other situations in the program. Just, I knew it was going to be relatively hard to find my way back into the starting lineup. And so basically we had the conversation about getting in the portal and transferring and where I might want to transfer. So he had me basically text him like my top three, because I told him I didn't really know. So I texted him my top three teams, and we kind of talked about it. But it wasn't anything like, while I was doing this, it wasn't like I was like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, kind of like you see a lot of the guys now. It was more or less, it was just a father having a conversation with his kid about, if X, X, and X happens, we kind of need a plan, because those things move relatively quickly. And I think you're seeing a lot of that in play in the transfer portal nowadays, especially with football, where you have guys that are jumping in and they already have a destination within the first day. And it's really just because, those conversations, if you have what I would like to say as a more mature adult in the situation, or a kid at that point, whatever you want to call them, you can have those conversations and not really torpedo any in-season, things or any situations like that. So I had those conversations. It was one conversation. I told him no, but he said, look, even though you don't want to do it, you need to have a backup plan. And I told him no. I said, Dad, I'm going to ride it out. I said, when I started playing baseball, our end goal was to be at LSU. I wanted to play pro when I was younger. And then when I got to high school, I kind of realized that I probably wasn't going to go that route, and kind of also didn't want to. And so I was like, you know what, LSU's it for me. LSU, if I go there and I'm there for 4 years, look, I'm going to have a blast for 4 years. I'm going to get to live out my dream, do everything that I wanted to do in this sport, and I'm not going to have any regrets. So I was lucky enough to be able to do that. It kind of, we had this and then that, and then all of a sudden it came back, but it ended up working out okay. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I really like that answer. So let's talk about this coming year.
Yeah.
LSU's ranked preseason number 1. I guess my question for you, I obviously want to hear your takes on individual positions and the new guys coming in and the pitching staff and the hitting and all that. But I guess being on the outside now, how would you compare what you're seeing projected for this season to a season in your career at LSU? Or is this just unlike anything that we've seen in a while, this stacked of a roster?
Yeah, I actually, it's quite funny that, obviously I assume we were going to talk about this, but it's quite funny because last Thursday I'm in the gym working out, and this guy comes up to me that I know. He's not we're not best friends or anything, but I kind of know him through my parents, to be honest. And he walks up to me, he's like, hey, you got a minute? I'm like on the treadmill running and stuff. And he's like, what do you like? So we start talking about what do you think about the season this year? The next thing you know, 30-minute conversation. And I've ran 3 miles, 4 miles, and we were talking about just this fact is I don't know if we've seen a projected lineup like this since, I mean, I have to go back to 2009. Just the pure raw players that we have in positions. I mean, you have the number 1 overall player in the country, which I have a bet with Casey in the house that he's not going to go number 1 overall. We made that bet about a year or a year and a half ago. But he is projected number 1, and I'll gladly give him my $100 for that bet. And then we just have the pitching that we accumulated through the portal is just, it's nuts. I believe I played against the guy from Air Force one year, and he stood out even then. It was like, it had to be our freshman year or junior year, or my junior year, his freshman year, whichever one it was. But he stood out then. So when we got him, I was like, I know he's the real deal. I played against him, and it looks like he's gotten even better. And then the Christian Little guy, played against him, and I thought he was good, but I thought he never really got into his he really never developed at Vanderbilt, I didn't think. But I think his raw stuff is I mean, a Friday night starter in the SEC is the stuff that he has. So LSU's, to be honest, one of the knocks that we had and that kind of the hitters complained when I was there was like, why are we going to play all these schools and they got 3 Friday, Saturday, Sunday guy throwing 95 to 98, and then we got Alex Lang throwing 95, and then we had I love Jared, but Jared's throwing 89, and then we have John Valek throwing 87, and it's like all of them are really good pitchers. Don't get me wrong, and we won. I mean, heck, we were a 1 seed, I believe, in the tournament, but it's just a little bit different what they bring to the table, and we've never had that while I was there. And then all of a sudden now I'm like looking, and heck, now I think we're going to have 5 guys throwing 98 this season.
Yeah.
Maybe even, actually, I think I counted, there was, I think 7 that are going to get up to around 97, 98, and there's 2 that may throw 100.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, the portal has just really made this Jay Johnson turnaround. It hopefully will be quick. I mean, they're loaded. It's even when you're looking at positions like who's going to play catcher this year.
Yeah.
You got Milazzo, you got Neal, the freshman coming in, and then you have Travanski. I mean, I don't know if you have any insight or on. They'll obviously probably all 3 play, but who's going to end up starting the most games there?
I mean, I think you have to go with Milazzo at the beginning. I think he's been hitting better. Definitely whenever I went and watched the scrimmages earlier in the fall. I'm big on the Neal guy. I've actually I've been at least kept up with him for a year or a year and a half now. And I've watched hitting footage of his stuff. Very mature for a young guy. And I think his hitting approach is really going to work well at LSU and with what Jay and them teach. So I think he's gonna start pressing for time. I think they're gonna end up switching back and forth, kind of double throughout the season. And I think it's kind of the same thing at short. I think the Guidry guy is gonna be pressing Thompson a lot at short, and then I think to a point to where I've already told people I believe that Guidry is gonna be the starter around SEC play, and Thompson may play second. But there's like you were saying, there's so many pieces to this puzzle that are available that I don't think LSU's ever had I don't think LSU's really had this issue since 2009 where they have guys on the bench that should and could be starting and could be producing extremely at a high level. And we have like 4 or 5 position players just sitting on the bench being able to do that.
Yeah, so I mean, Tommy Tanks is going to start at third from what you've seen, and then Dylan Cruz is obviously going to start out at center. But yeah, you got Thompson, you got Guidry, and then Nepal, and then you have Dugas too, all in that kind of middle infield. There's probably 4, maybe 5 guys that could play in that middle infield. So it's like you said, the competition's high there, and same in the outfield. Paxton Kling coming in. I mean, he's going to be competing with Stevenson and Joe Bear and Pearson to play.
Yeah.
So there's probably, 2 spots out there for 4 really good or, supposed to be really good players. So very competitive all around.
Pretty high on the clean guy.
Yeah. I keep hearing he's going to start in left field.
That's I was gonna say it, but
Yeah.
you went ahead and took it from me. No, I'm joking. No, I think it's pretty. I think that one's pretty. I think that's a pretty for sure thing there. I watched. He did. You know, he did really well when I watched a couple of scrimmages. And it's just, I mean, you just look at him and he's college ready right out of high school. When I say college ready, I mean he's like 6'2", 200 pounds, and can fly and can hit and just can throw. He's kind of a package. And what I heard from one of the guys on not on the team but from the coaching staff is just that he's basically going to be the next Dylan Cruz for LSU. That's what they're anticipating for him. And they actually, one person said that there's a potential for him to kind of have a higher ceiling. I forgot what it was. I forgot why.
The high ceiling.
Yeah, I know. I heard that and I'm like, ooh, I don't know. I tread lightly on the propping players up and, you know, that much or hyping them up that much. But the guy that I talked to, he's done player evaluations for a while, so I think he kind of has an idea of what's going on.
So are you out on the buzz around Trey Morgan potentially playing elsewhere besides first base?
No. That buzz, that's legitimate. That's legitimate. He so in the pro ranks, he's more than likely going to play a corner outfield spot.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, I believe he'll probably get drafted as a first baseman / outfielder. Usually they'll just designate one, but I think he's too good not to. But I think your first baseman in the MLB, they want them to hit for power, and I think that's a little bit of what you saw. I think Trey Morgan's average was down last year from his freshman year, and that's what I was attributing to that too. I'm sure his hitting coach outside of school, or even his, you know, I don't really know how to I don't know the terminology for it because it's tricky with the NCAA and whatnot, what you can have and what you can't have in terms of representation anymore. But basically his representation probably told him, hey, we probably need to go for a little bit more home runs. And so I think that's why you saw kind of he was getting big swings on pitches I didn't think he normally would do, or I didn't see in his freshman year. So I think that's kind of what happened. I think now he's going to tone it in a little bit. And I hope he kind of has a, like a Greg Dykman, his draft year. I hope he kind of goes that route. I mean, that'd be fantastic because
that'd be nice.
Turned it around and hit for like 23 home runs and batted like 300 after not doing that well before that. But I think you'll see his powers numbers go up, and I think his average will actually kind of rise too from last year. So I'm really excited about him and to see him there. I don't think he'll play all the time in just the outfield or just first base. I think he'll switch.
Yeah, I mean, because there's other options at first base too. And what do you think about your boy Cade Beloso coming back? Huh?
I mean, hey, look, I was telling some other day, college only lasts for a limited amount of time. I mean, if you could have told me I could play for 7 years, I'd still be there. So,
you played with, I mean, you had to have been on the same team as Cade, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think he came in, my junior year.
Yeah.
So I think I played 2 years with him. Same thing with Gavin. And I'm like sitting there, I see him at the games. I'm like talking to him, like, golly, man. Like, y'all remember when I played? It was feel like a
close the yearbook Beloso.
Yeah.
But actually, we need to get we've had Beloso on pretty much the week of the season starting every year. So I guess we'll do that till he's 40 and still playing for LSU.
That's right.
Yeah, but hopefully he can get back to Beloso that we know he's capable of being, and that way he can get drafted and go play. Because I know the last 2 years have been relatively tough on him.
Yeah, for sure. That injury before the first game even started, that's brutal.
That's brutal. Yeah, you can't. That's really unfortunate. And then he came back last year and thought he was going to have a really good year, and then ended up just not performing to what he knows he's capable and what we know he's capable of. So I want him to get back to it. He's a great kid, great guy. So I'm fired up for him.
So Chris, we kind of previewed, the season. We looked at every position and whatnot. what do you see just from the outside looking in? I know it's not like you played under Coach Jay Johnson to see the day in and the day out, but I know you've been, like you mentioned, you've been to some practices and you're still familiar with the program. What do you see from the outside looking in as far as like, obviously Maneri and Jay Johnson have two different approaches, but I guess what are your thoughts on the differences and I guess where obviously we know where the program's going, right? I mean, he's in year 2 and they're number 1, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think, with Jay, I think LSU's always been pretty primed to be a national contender every year, as I think a lot of fans believe the same. I think, we definitely needed new blood at the helm, and Jay, I tell people this all the time, Jay was not my first choice. So whenever he was hired, I didn't know. I wasn't not enthusiastic and I wasn't enthusiastic. I kind of just was in the middle. I didn't know anything about him. People, of course, are texting me, calling me, trying to figure out what they should think. And I'm like, dude, I have no clue. But after listening to some of the coaches on staff and, like I said, a handful of players at that time that I had still played with and know, I mean, I didn't see anything but success going to be happening. The way that I look, or really would like to phrase it, is I think they work too hard not to be successful. And I don't want to say that to discredit what we did when we were there, but it's almost like it's almost to the point where they're like working too much. I think like that's from my perspective. And
I mean,
and like
I guess that's better than working not enough.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like from an outside perspective now, I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. Like work them like dogs. Like, and then when I was in there, I'm like, please don't work me like a dog. Please don't work me like it. Like I think that's not only me. I think it was just in general. But we got our work in when I was there. We got our work in and we were serious about it and we did it. But like, I'll give you an example. Like our practice schedule was from basically 1:30 to probably got done at 6, and that doesn't include a workout in the morning at 7:30. So an hour workout. So I mean, you're putting in, almost 7 hours, 6 to 7 hours of time to your craft a day. Like I'm hearing stories from them where like they're putting in almost 10.
Wow.
Like to 11, like
almost
11 sometimes. Like it's like that's what I'm getting at. I'm not like I said, not trying to discredit the work we did. We worked and we practiced and we were there. We put our time in. But I mean, they're like, like I said, they're, I don't know, a bunch of people have talked about it, but like you drive by the field at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, and the lights are still on, but it's not the lights are still on. It's just you hear people practicing. And, that's great. If they're practicing and they're doing stuff right, that's great. Because you can practice all day and not train correctly, and it doesn't get you anywhere or get you any better. But at the same time, they're putting the effort in, and that was one of the big things I was told from a few of the players is that the expectations from the players and the expectations of the coaches are just at another level. And you can take that for whatever you think it is, but I think it's going to lead us into a good position. And I always like to talk about this from a head coaching position. The fire is definitely night and day. Definitely towards the end of Paul's tenure. But Jay, from what I heard of, he has an office when he first got called in or got the job. They flew him in, got him with the real estate person for LSU coaches, and he was like, they were like, oh well, we looked at some 4 bedrooms, and he was like, no, I need a 5 bedroom. And they're like, okay, you sure? Like, yeah. And the 5th bed, he had to have the 5th bedroom for recruiting, so he has whiteboards on all 4 walls with, I want to say, he has 100 names or something like that from each recruiting class that he calls like 10 of them a night. Every night he'll sit in that room and call 10 of them a night. So I honestly don't even know other coaches that do that, to be honest. So I'm not going to I think that's just, that speaks to his work ethic and how in LSU baseball he really is.
Yeah, and I mean, I have just two quick thoughts on that. One, we'd have to get with Blaine and see how much extra value a fifth bedroom adds to your house, especially if you're using it the way that he does. And my second thing is that maybe you guys like under Coach Maneri and the teams that you played with, maybe y'all might have just been more efficient and in y'all's workouts, and that y'all only needed to exercise 7 hours a day, and these guys are just a bunch of meatheads and they got to just be in the gym for 10 hours a day. Maybe I'm trying to give you credit here.
Yeah, no, and like I said, the people being recruited now, I feel like it's just a different breed than what they were recruiting when I was there. I think everybody always made fun of our infielders being small, like Paul or something like that. And I don't think he necessarily was recruiting for our size. I think it was just he liked the smaller people that he did recruit. I think they just had better hand eye. I think across the board, I think their tools were just better. But I think now with for instance, you go look at our roster right now, how many are from Louisiana?
Yeah. They're from all over now.
Yeah, now we're acting
New
like
York,
Vanderbilt,
California. Yeah,
we're acting like Vanderbilt because we have the ability to now.
For sure.
With the rules for NIL and everything, we have the ability to get players that really weren't accessible earlier on, since maybe Skip, to be honest. And you look at our backers, our boosters and stuff, and I'm not gonna name names or throw out numbers, but I mean, it's pretty well.
Do that on Twitter.
Yeah.
You could do that.
It's pretty well known that we're supported extremely well in terms of fan, showing up to the game, but also by dollar signs, by donations. And the number that was floated to me is a very healthy number that we have, in support for these players. And so I don't think there's no reason if both of those, the fan support and the dollar signs that come in with it, I don't see any other reason why LSU shouldn't be in another golden era of college baseball. I'm not going to say we're going to win national champion after national championship and take 6 out of the next 12 natties. No, because the game has just changed so much. Other people have money too.
Right. Well, breaking news: Chris Reid says we're going to win 6 out of the.
Yep.
Yeah, I know. Right?
I was about to ask for a prediction. We could use for a headline.
No, but I will predict we'll probably win 2 in the next 6 years.
So 2 out of 6. That's
2 out of 6.
So
I
that's
think
1
we'll
out of 3. And you originally said 1. All right, so 1/3 of the next 25.
All right,
24. So
and I'll that's more of aggressive. If I was trying to play safer, I'd say 2 out of probably the next 8 or 10. But I think 2 out of 6 are very capable. As long as everything is still lined up as is today.
I think making it to the championship series, I think we'll give you that. Let's say we make it to the championship series 2 out of the next 6.
I mean, that's an accomplishment of itself as well. So, it's really hard to win the national championship nowadays.
Yeah.
It's not like back in the late 90s and early 2000s where, not taking anything away from Skip and them, they would have beat people anyway. But it's just they had the rules at that time allowed for, and Skip was the best at basically working with and around the rules. And, that led to what it did. And I think since the working around the rules is kind of legalized now, I think we're positioned as one of the top teams in the country. I mean, top 3 by far to be positioned to do it. It'd be us, Texas, and probably
Stony Brook.
Yeah, probably like A&M to really position themselves well with NIL to get the best players in the country. So,
yeah. Well, hey, I think I speak for myself and Luffy and the rest of LSU baseball that it feels good to hear that coming from a guy that stuck around the program for 4 years. And Chris, it's been great talking to you, man. I told you before we started recording, I hadn't seen you at Ivar's in a while, so I have to we'll have to run into each other and beer on me next time.
There you go. I think the last time I saw you there was a couple months ago. I saw you and your dad.
Oh yeah.
His dad's regular there.
Yeah. I think it was for a football game, maybe. That's usually.
You were talking to him more than you were talking to me.
Well, yeah. I mean, I didn't know that he knew my girlfriend's friends and all my golf buddies. So, my girlfriend's dad, and all of his friends that are now my friends, and we all go golfing all the time. And then he was like, "Oh yeah, you're dating the Broussard girl." I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, I know her dad. I know, Nolan. I know
everybody.
I know all the guys. I'm like, "Well, dang, all right, buddy." So
yeah, we were gonna get him on the podcast soon to talk hunting and fishing. That's what he's been begging us to do that. But I told him we got to get you on first to talk about baseball.
I love it.
So, Chris, thank you so much, man. Go Tigers. We'll see you soon.
Go Tigers.
Thanks, Chris. See you around.
Bye. Hello.
All right, Luffy. Great interview with Chris Reid. We kind of touched on everything that we wanted to roll within this episode.
Yeah,
sure. I guess the one thing that I feel like we forgot to talk about, which I don't want to go too far into it because I know it's just going to make you mad, and if you get mad, then your blood pressure is going to go up, and then you're not going to be able to sleep well tonight. But LSU basketball. Pretty tough to watch.
Yeah, nothing much to get. It's more like depressing, more like sad than mad. They just don't have anybody who can score the basketball consistently, and we said that if they finish middle of the pack, before SEC play, then that would be a hell of a job. I mean, it would be a hell of a coaching job, and they're struggling. It's just there's not enough consistent scoring. KJ's really the only one who can give you consistently 15 points a night, but it's tough, Got to have to get some big transfers. He's going to have to use that portal. So,
all right. Well, you want to clean up the basketball talk, and let's clean up the Chris Reid interview.
Yeah, got to call Workbox. Got to call Workbox LC. You need a storage container. You need a porta potty. You need a portable restroom rental. A luxury one, you need a roll-off dumpster. You need a storage container. Call Martine at Workbox. It's 225-343-4886. If you need a porta potty, cleanest in the business. If you need a storage container, a portable office. If you need a luxury restroom rental or a roll-off dumpster after you buy your home and you're redoing it from Blaine, call Workbox LLC at 225-343-4886.
Also, was that I think I just voice cracked. Oh my! It's been a while since I've done that. It's been a long, whoever's running the ticker for the last 137 episodes, please update on account. I want to give you a huge shout out to DraftKings, the official sports betting partner of Boot Crew Media. Enter promo code BOOT, BOOT, bet just $5 and get $200 of free bets if your team wins. All right, Luffy. You want to do a little rapid fire house always wins?
All right, yeah, you go first. I haven't even looked at the games.
All right. This is a massive weekend of NFL football. You got the Chiefs, the Bengals. You got no. I'm sorry. You got the Bills and the Bengals.
Bengals.
You got the Chiefs,
the
Jags. Chiefs line is kind of scaring me. It's -9.
I might be jagging off.
Wow. Please don't do that.
At +9. I'll jag off at +9.
If you do that, I'm not watching the game with you. How's that sound?
I think you're still going to watch.
No, I'm telling you, I'm not watching it with you.
We'll see.
You say, all right. So
you're definitely better than Chiefs then.
Huh? Well, it was tough. Now it's moving more towards the Chiefs, right? It opened at 8.5.
Sharp money's on the Chiefs.
8.5, yeah. So I'm thinking I'm going to go with, I don't know, man. I think the boys are probably in a good spot to cover +4. I think they haven't been playing that well. I think Dak kind of got a little confidence back against the Bucs. And I think he is. I think the Purdy train is coming to the train station. Purdy's not going to the train station. Don't misunderstand me. But I think the Cowboys are in a good spot. Maybe even take them. Maybe even take them to win it outright.
Yeah, Giants Eagles is interesting to me. I think everybody's riding a little bit too close to the sun on Danny Dimes, and the Eagles. Everyone's kind of too low on them. Even though the Giants +7.5, it looks like way too many points for a divisional playoff game.
I get what you're saying. I like it. They look good this past weekend.
Yeah, but I'm going to go with the Bengals +5.5. It's too many points there. It's in Buffalo. I don't really care about that. The Bengals O-line is the one thing that worries me, losing Lyle and the right guard as well. So they've struggled some. But I think that game still stays pretty close. Josh Allen's been turning the ball over. Give me Joseph Burrow plus 5.5.
That would go great for my my Bengals future. I had 3 futures for NFL teams to win the Super Bowl. I had the Packers, the Vikings, which was really unpopular, and I had the Bengals.
Ooh.
And
Vikings defense was just awful.
Yeah, still thought they could beat the Giants, right?
Yeah.
Did they not? They did play the Giants, correct?
Yeah, they did. But yeah.
But the Giants look good. Saquon looked good rushing. Daniel Jones was breaking some 20-yard scrambles here and there. I don't know. It's also going to be interesting to see how the Eagles kind of progress after the great regular season.
Yeah, it is. I mean, this is a big weekend of football.
I do believe that if the 49ers had Jimmy G or what's his name, their starter, the guy that started for them this year, Trey Lance. They'd be.
Well, he wasn't very good whenever he started.
Yeah, but I mean, dude, they're literally winning games, and they're on what, an 11-game win streak with their third string quarterback.
I mean, Trey Lance lost like the Bears.
Well, I think with the addition of McCaffrey,
I agree.
Addition of McCaffrey, it takes a little while for teams to find themselves. Quit arguing with me, okay?
No,
I'm just trying to make a point.
I think the 49ers roll the Cowboys. They beat them by 20 plus.
Well, thanks for that. Because all right, we got a bold prediction. So we'll see. So Bengals plus 5.5, and the Cowboys is my pick plus 4. So all right. And the House Always Wins segment is presented by the House Bar in Tigerland. Luffy, you and I were with Casey last Friday night.
I was wearing my house sweatshirt.
You were.
He was like, "Where'd you get that?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" From the website. Yeah.
HouseInTigerland.com.
What do you mean? Where did I get that?
He was too busy. He was too busy dealing with sugar cookies and peanut butter cookies and any other type of cookies they have at Crumble. But always great to hang out with the boys over at the House Bar in Tigerland. Shout out to the House Bar in Tigerland. Make sure to follow them on social media, Twitter at Tigerland House, and on Facebook and Instagram at House in Tigerland and at houseintigerland.com. I want to give a huge shout out to all of our other sponsors: Workbox LLC, Blaine Loop with Keller Williams Realty. Congrats on getting married. Keller Williams is an equal opportunity housing partner. Each office independently owned and operated. And DraftKings, as well as the Boot Crew Media Network. Make sure to check them all out. Your life will be better for it. Luffy, we're 30 days out from opening night in Alex Box as the sun finds its home in the western sky. You know, the sun still finds its home in the western sky, like that. It always finds its home in the western sky. You know that, right? Like, it's not just on Saturday nights in Death Valley. It's also in Alex Box, Skip Urban Field.
That's right. Go Tigers.
I bet you some people would be like shocked to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but if they are, then
maybe you can put a poll up.
Yeah, I'll put a poll up.